Inside the bathroom of the auction, Hong Dali washed his hands carelessly, but when one looked up, then he noticed the young man still following him, and the man heatedly smiled. Hong Dali was scared by this scene of scalp numbness. The woman is okay, but this is a man. Looking at the look on his face as he rushes himself, this guy can't be gay, can he? Thinking about it, Hong Li has a bad feeling in his psyche. Is this really the case? This young guy saw the other guy's point. I'm not gay, brother. I'm just asking if you weren't born with this. Normal people don't have this shape. Are you taking some kind of miracle drug? Can you tell me? Hong Dali was speechless by the words and twisted his head to leave the place. When he was about to go to the seat again, a man stopped Hong Li's way. I wonder why it stinks so much, so I've met someone I know. Hong Dali looked at the deja vu person in front of him suspiciously and inquired which one he was. It seems to ring a bell, but I've almost forgotten it. It's a terrible shame. Hong and Bao angrily stinks at the other party. I am your cousin. Hong Dali suddenly remembered and said, so it is the cousin who was chased by the dog all over the words were a little too loud, and the people on the sidelines heard them and scoffed. Hong and Bao's looking at the other party. This young master does not want to talk more with you. I know you've come here today to auction Tianyuan grass. Am I right? Hong vigorously looked at the other party with great surprise. How on earth did he know? That's not the point. The point is that no matter what price you charge today, the baby is ours. After saying that, Hong Anbao smugly rubbed shoulders with Hong and felt relieved. Then he added, if you don't believe me, you'll know when the auction starts. This is what Tang Moshing came from the side, just in time to hear which words Hong Anbao said. The young man next to Hong Li is still following Hong Li's side and kissing his arse. Seeing Tang Moshing coming, the young man hurriedly came over from one side to get close to her. I'm Muzihao, brother Dali's new kid brother. Please take care of me from now on. Hearing these words, Hong Li directly pulled up Tang's hand and ran to the side, but Muzihao behind him is still chattering away in pursuit. Why is yours so big, brother Dali? By this time the auction room was full, and people were talking about what might come up today. This is Tang Muxing, very curious to ask Hong vigorously just what that person said. Something big. Hong Li was embarrassed and didn't know how to say it. You will know it later. It was the sound of a lifetime of crisp hammer blows ringing out. This is where the auctioneer starts to introduce the items for today's auction. The first item is a pop-up, an alabaster wine glass once used by the emperor. This item is considered a door opener, with a starting price of $20 million. Don heard this with great emotion. Shouldn't it have been relatively cheap at first? One by one, the people below shouted, $24 million, $35 million. It was a voice that appeared in the arena and directly shook the entire room. $100 million. Who the hell shouted that? Is it some hidden tycoon? Even the auctioneer is looking left and right for the sound. At this point some people began to talk, and at one point in the back row someone shouted, so it's Master Hung. A group of people are looking at the big man in front of them, seeing the surprised expressions of the people around him. Master Hong Si also hummed disdainfully. This is Hong Dali's father. Also looked at the back of the fourth Master Hong. Master Hong is a famous businessman with many businesses of his own. This is the master of the Tang family looking at Hong Dali's father. This is our opponent. Hong Lao understood. So the person behind the confrontation with the Tang family was Master Hong Si. This is the man who's been fighting against the Tang family, and he's feeling imperative now. Don's side is looking at a very bleak situation and feels like he's probably going to lose today. Tang Moshing, who could see the current form, also revealed a nervous expression. They're preparing to drive the Tang family to extinction if they don't get it this time. It's over. Hong Li remembered the conversation he had with his cousin today. It seems that the auction in a few days is very interesting. The final hammer blow from the auctioneer sold the white jade wine glass for $100 million. Seeing this scene, people present exclaimed that it was worthy of a business tycoon. Immediately after that, the auctioneer then took out the second item to be auctioned off. It's a special crystal left behind when a star fell, made into a necklace. Before he could finish his sentence, someone directly behind him quoted $100 million. This wave of strange characters has people in disbelief, but Master Hong wanted to give it to his daughter-in-law as a gift. Hong Li directly laughed on the spot when he heard this. Tang Moshing was too nervous to speak when she knew the necklace was going to be for herself. In fact, for Master Hung, spending $100 million still doesn't hurt. The people around here can't sit still anymore. What's going on here today? All the good stuff has been auctioned off by the Hans, so we'll just have to watch today." And then Sammo Hung couldn't look away, yelling for his dad to give his beloved one too. This comment directly enraged Dad. "How dare your cousin have ideas?" The auctioneer had been shocked and his legs had gone limp. To be able to keep the auction in order, he twisted his thighs as hard as he could. Start shouting, 100 million once, 100 million twice, 100 million 3 times deal. The Tang family head is also a bit embarrassed to see this. Master Hung was so proud that he told his daughter-in-law that it would look better on her later. The fifth master actually has a small mind. How could he let the fourth brother overpower him? After taking down the necklace, Hong Li personally put it on Tang Muxing carefully. Watching your woman wear the necklace is psychologically delightful. Tang Muxing never expected to receive such an expensive gift today. The others who saw this scene could not stand it, and asked their husbands for one. A $100 million necklace? Are you kidding me? You just bought it? Hong Dali also knew that his father's move today was to get on the wrong side of fourth uncle. Hong Sifu saw the scene that just happened mental also very uncomfortable. Immediately after that, the auctioneer brought out a third item. It's the crown of a 3,000-year-old queen of Guren, definitely a status symbol. The bidding starts at 38 million, and everyone behind us starts to quote their own prices. At this moment, Hong Li found that someone was filming himself next to him. The kid who was just a ghost has appeared by his side again. Mu Zihao heatedly smiled. "Big brother, why so outgoing are our own people? In fact, don't you know what I'm thinking? I just want to do something with Pepper." Hong felt he couldn't get rid of him, so he told him to go to the hospital and see a doctor. But Mu Zihao appraised that Hong Li must have used a different prescription. Hong thought that since he couldn't get rid of him, he'd make up a story for him to believe. It is true that there was such an elixir before, by a Taoist priest before. Looking at Hong Dali's expression of wanting to say something, Mu Zihao couldn't wait. "But the Taoist priest only gave me one, and after eating it, there was no more." It's not easy to find him, because Taoist priests travel around and live nowhere. Kazuho believed it and lamented how it wasn't he who met him. At this time Hong Dali consoled, "Next time I will meet in the meat to ask you another one." At this point, Mu Zihao rekindled hope, thinking that he could be that big in the future too. The third item was already up for auction, and the auctioneer looked down at the crowd with excitement. "This is a sacred weapon, crafted by a famous blacksmith in ancient times." Here's the auctioneer wearing gloves to show off the knife's sharpness. He gripped the hilt tightly, ready to pull it away with force. Instantly the blade was partially pulled out. The sharpness looked extraordinary. According to the auctioneer, the knife is as sharp as iron. It has beheaded more than 100 Eastern Japanese invaders. It's an absolute weapon, but the starting bid was surprisingly low at $3 million, and Hong was ready to buy it for fun. Hong Dali then raised his card and quoted the first price, 35 million yuan. Hong Anbao in the back kept mocking after hearing that. What a shitty thing too. In order to press the other side, Hong Bao offered $351 million again. This is obviously going against Hong Li. Hong Li looked at the other party's arrogant face. Another offer of $4 million looks like a fight is about to start again. As expected, Hong Bao once again offered $401 million to go against the other side. This directly angered Hong Li, because he just wanted to buy it for fun but was also ostracized. Angry Hong Li quotes 30 million to see if the other side still follows, but the other parties still offered 10,000 more. Hong Li angrily quoted 100 million. Looking at Hong Bao, who was being played like a monkey by himself, he smiled wickedly. Absolute last bid and no more. Hong Bao bids 100 million and no more. But this is Hong Dali's sudden change of style. "I don't want to buy it." It can be imagined that since the beginning Hong Li already knew what the other party thought. This just made Hong Bao fall into his own trap, and he was shocked as well. The people in the arena laughed at Hong Bao. All of them could see what Hong Dali was thinking. He's the only one in the room who's in the dark, so his IQ really isn't that high. Hong Bao's expression at this moment is as hard as eating shit. Hong Bao was now in a mood that was worse than eating a meal. Hong Sifu looked at his own son who was not good enough. It was really too humiliating. Hong has no money at all and is still praying for his father to advance him money. The pharmacy owner said, "I'm out of this 100 million yuan to give the child a gift for the meeting." But then he thought to himself, "This kid is not normally stupid. It's too heartbreaking." The master of the Tang family said, "If you like it, I'll find someone to make you one." Wood also chimed in, I knew you couldn't shout at him, so I'll do it for you. Hong Li looked at this disgusting man in front of him and hated how far away from him he was. But this guy next to me is serious. If you don't have enough money, I have plenty. Hong talks about the profits of his project now, claiming he doesn't need his help. The side of the wood Zihao stopped is also nodded repeatedly. Big brother is really bull. The auctioneer sees that the time is almost right and begins to introduce the next heavyweight item. The tycoons below were instantly energized when they heard it and waited for the offer to be made, especially the two big brothers of the Hong family. I guess there are no outsiders in this auction. Hong Xi's side is thinking of taking this item this time. The fifth master's side had been expecting something, which was the purpose of their visit. Soon after, the auctioneer started by introducing the rare species this time, the grass. Hearing some disinterest on the stage, the auctioneer began to say that this was not a simple grass, because the effects of this grass can make a person 30 years younger. When this sentence came out, the following people immediately stirred up. This is not to be found. Especially some of the older ones are ready to spend all they have to take this grass. It's like paying for your life, it's worth any amount of money. Before the auctioneer could quote the price, the following people opened their prices. $50 million. I'll give you $80 million. Looks like the grass is still attractive. Tang Machine looked unexpectedly, as this cocoa grass could bring their company back from the dead. The auctioneer begins to calm everyone down and prepares to show the cactus to the crowd. The dispensary owner thought to himself, there is no way anyone else could get their hands on it. With a grinding sound of a wheel, the fairy grass was slowly pushed out of the grass could only survive under the freeze, and the expedition had to take back the whole iceberg. The staff on the sidelines struggled to push the heavy object. Standing next to the iceberg, the auctioneer had felt an icy chill. Those seated below also felt a slight chill of anticipation. The auctioneer told everyone in the audience that this was the moment to witness the miracle. As soon as the salesman removed the canvas covering the iceberg, he waited for the cheering. Iceberg fairy Tian Yuan herb, an ice sculpture holding in its hands the very in the middle of it all. Tian Yuan grass looked chilly and had a dusty feel to it. The audience below not only saw it but smelled it, for the field greens had a strange fragrance. The crowd below was screaming for the reserve price. They can't wait. The speculation has begun that this should be 100 million. No, 200 million. The auctioneer started selling again, saying that none of these prices are, and that this price is starting at $0. You heard me right, starting at $0. The people below instantly stopped talking, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. That's right, now put the pricing in your hands, it's a fair fight. The auctioneer shouted out loudly. The bidding would begin next. But it was the people below who had stopped talking, and none of them made the first price, because they know that this grass is worth absolutely a lot of money. This is Tang Machine curiously asked Hong Dali, how come no one is talking anymore? Anyone who wants to get the most out of it doesn't want to be the first to shout it down. As soon as someone shouts out the first price, there's a chatter of offers behind them. Then Hong Dali was the first to raise his hand. $10 million. The following group of people instantly boiled over and started to make offers. 15 million, 18 million, 20 million. It's giving them a chance to make an offer, otherwise they just overstate it. They might not even get a chance to call out the price. Tang Machine listened to what her fiancé said and felt it made sense. At this time the side of the wood a hand embraced Hong. This is not to pick up the cheap. Tang Machine looked at the scene in front of her with embarrassment and didn't know what to say. The price continues to go up, and it's now at $27 million. At this time the taunted Hong Dali once again raised his sign. I offer 200 million. The auctioneer was instantly excited. 200 million. That gentleman offered 200 million. Once again, the following people were talking. Which fool would pay 200 million for this thing? Even if it's a life-preserving weed. Is this thing worth $200 million? Tang Machine was also shocked when she heard. How did you report a total of just this much money? Are you doing this for me? Hong Dali is looking around, as if he is looking for something. Tang Machine also inquired curiously, what are you looking for? I'm looking for another fiancé, maybe it's for her. Tang Machine reached out and tackled Hong Li when she heard it. You're on my one. Don was pleased that the first person to bid high for him was his son-in-law. He watched the scene of their love, and pressed the decision to betroth his daughter to him. But the Tang family could still lose the bidding because there's still the pharmacy owner here. Then a voice appeared in the ears of the crowd. I offer 500 million. It's Master Han, he's the one who made a bid that shook the world. Then Master Han, not lagging behind, blurted out, I'll pay 700 million. Master Hong Si has actually predicted this. I'll offer $1 billion. The people below couldn't believe their ears. How much does $1 billion have to be? Master Hong Wu was not willing to show weakness. His eyes are firm. Said, 15 billion. Master Hong Si didn't hesitate and continued to increase the price upwards. $2 billion. Master Hong wants a quick fix this time and calls it out directly. $3 billion. Neither one is a good person. You add more and I add more. 5 billion. The auctioneer couldn't hold the hammer in his hand and dropped it on the floor. Then he sat on his arse on the floor. How can he shout such a high price? The auctioneer's hands are now shaking while he's on the ground. There was no strength in his whole body, for he heard a sentence. 10 billion. It's a showdown between the two that hasn't stopped yet. $13 billion. Hong Siwei remains relaxed against the battle. $15 billion. The auctioneer couldn't believe it was true and pinched himself in a hurry. Looking at Hong's offer so steadily, he thought that this time it was a success. The rest of the group listened incredulously to the offer of a one-line quote. Even the Tang family was incredulous. Their own family didn't have this much money. Nervousness was basically on everyone's face. This doesn't seem to be a commodity anymore. The price is increasing fast. It's more like two beasts fighting over territory. It's oppressive. Two brothers and two business tycoons. Hondo shuddered to think what his father's ceiling was and was a little worried. Tang, who was on the side, hurriedly stopped Master Hong Wu. Now the price is not worth it anymore. Even if you buy it back, you won't make much money because the profits from fairy grass can go up to 30 or 40 billion. If we go any higher, we'll lose money. Master Hong Fifth was caught in hesitation, for he knew there was really no point in shouting on. The owner of the pharmacy praised this fourth master, and he's definitely going to make a fortune. Master Hong Si is still unperturbed and has been waiting for the bidding from the back. Then looking to the dispensary owner, he spoke his mind. I think we're going to have to change our split. It was 46 cents, but now it's changed to 19 cents. The pharmacy owner panicked and looked at the man in front of him who had gone back on his word. Do you know who's behind our great God's court? I don't care who's behind you. If I pay for it, you'll do as I say. The owner of the pharmacy was so angry that he couldn't say a word as he pointed at his opponent. The auctioneer reflected at this time, and asked in a low voice if there were any more people. This is Master Hung trying to raise the price again to get his hands on the fairy herb, but the master of the Tang family pulled Master Hung not to let him be impulsive. Hong Li's side also sighed. In the end it was taken by the fourth uncle. When Tang Moxing saw it, she also comforted. It's okay. We've tried our best. Hong Dali also apologized softly. In the end I couldn't help you guys. The auctioneer trembled. 15 billion once, 15 billion twice. The people below have been blown away by the amazing price, and it's not expected to go any higher. I can't believe how much a blade of grass is worth. At this moment a voice appeared. I offer 10 billion US dollars. In an instant everyone turned their heads and looked in unison at one location. This amount makes Master Hong sit up and take notice. Who dares to pay this high price? Master Hong Wu was also surprised by the price. Is there still a high person? Because it's $10 billion. The price goes straight up several times over. Woody House snaps his boogers in embarrassment. Don't look for it, I'm the one who shouted it. Young guy paid $10 billion for a blade of grass. Let aside the self-righteous Hong Li, directly embarrassed, speechless. Wood's shoulder is on Hong's shoulder. I just said I don't have money to lend you. Hong didn't think he was a loser, but he didn't think there were more losers than himself. The auctioneer was in a different state of mind at this point, shouting out, who else? Off stage, Hong Anbao asked his father, are we being suppressed like this? Master Hong Si would actually like to call it, only now the price is already a loss of money. The pharmacy owners looked at Master Hong in front of him and said that he couldn't be relied upon. Master Hong Si really cannot continue to compare. And then call how many a company, how many. The owner of the dispensary saw that the situation was not right and left the place. This isn't Bao worrying for himself. The Great God's Pavilion is full of strange people. They won't come after us then, will they? At this point, the auctioneer shouted $10 billion 3 times and dropped the hammer. In the hall outside the auction venue, a group of people were discussing what happened today. Master Tang said goodbye to Master Hung and said he had to go back. Master Hong Wu expressed his regret and said, I'm sorry that I didn't help you. The master of the Tang family had in fact already prepared himself mentally. Except that, I just don't know if our daughter is a good match for your son. Hong was very unhappy to hear the master of the Tang family say this? Did you guys backtrack? In fact, it was Hong Dali who misunderstood his meaning, and now Tang Muxing was very happy, and Master Hong's side directly said, "The two of them quickly deal with the marriage." Hong Dali snickered and looked at his understanding old man. His heart was happy. Their conversation was overheard by Kimmy, who had just arrived, and stepped forward to congratulate. Hong Li looked at the handheld $10 billion in front of him. Muziheo was very outrageous. Aren't you afraid you'll be robbed if you walk around with $10 billion in your hand? In fact, Woody Hao isn't afraid of anyone robbing him at all because he's a boxing champion. Then with a casual throw of his hand, he directly remained the Tianyuan grass to his elder brother. Hong Dali was almost knocked over by this sudden heavy object, because the ice in here weighs hundreds of pounds. I know you're good, so get your case back. Muziho knows his big brother loves this stuff. It's too much for me to keep, so I'll give it to you. These words made Hong Wu look here in surprise. The father and daughter on the side were even more dumbfounded and speechless. On the contrary, Hong Dali, the box accidentally fell on the ground and smashed his feet. Woody Hao claims he's serious, but there's a quid pro quo. That is, he hoped that Big Brother would beg the sacred medicine back for himself, and then turned around in style and said that this gift would be a wedding present for them. Hong Dali also handed his business card to the other party and reacquainted himself with the other side of the body is really good. Directly casually received a sentence. Woodziheo, suddenly tens of billions of dollars for nothing is too much for anyone to think about. The master of the Tang family on the side turned stuttering in his speech. Is this really for you? Hong Dali directly and boldly handed the box in his hand to the Tang family. We're here today because I bought you this plant. The master of the Tang family looked at the box in front of him as if it were a treasure. Tang Muxing was touched as she bailed out Hong Dali. It was him who saved their family. The current Hong Li is not only his fiancé, but also his benefactor. However, Hong Dali is also here to humbly say that this is not his own credit. That young man's identity is not simple. He's one of the 5 richest families in the world. Hong heard here suddenly feel surprised. Have not seen that you have such a family. Tang interjected that the reason why this man knew Hong Li was because he had something very big. This also made the old man interested. His own son were very big, he still do not know. Hong Dali hurriedly explained that it was his own greatness of heart. At this point Don said goodbye, claiming that he had to take it back to the company immediately. Master Hung agreed and said that this should be done as soon as possible. But be careful, don't let anyone steal it this time. The Tang family's decline was caused by the theft of their own research and development. Since thieves can be very resourceful, they will find a way to settle the matter themselves. At that moment, a man in the corner had already heard everything that had happened inside his ears. He's the owner of the pharmacy. It's not that simple. The next day, inside the Tang Family Enterprises building, all processes are in order. The Tang family head has put the fairy herb in his lab for research, and that the researchers are kept in strict confidence. The Tang family head looked at his future son-in-law in front of him with relief. If it wasn't for him, the fate of his own company would probably be heading for closure. Hong Dali entered the main topic. His main purpose is to do a good job of security. This piece of Lin Chuyin is their strongest support because he can use technology to protect the fairy grasses. Lin Chuyin just happened to come here after receiving Hong Dali's notification, lollipop in hand. She's as laid back as ever. The Tang family head was very impressed to see it was such a young girl. Just now, ever since Lin Chuyin entered the building, she's been detecting all the surveillance has no dead spots. If the thief is not found, then he's invisible. But Lin Chuyin can make an anti-cloaking device, but it will take a day or two of development time. Hong Dali knows that this 1 or 2 days is the most dangerous time, so he's decided he'll stay at Don's company for the next 2 days. But he made an excessive request, wanting to stay in Tang Muxing's room. Tang Muxing looked at Hong Dali angrily, advising him that he'd better be honest. At this point Lin called out to the duo to stop, ready to show them one of his studies. It's an ordinary-looking bracelet. Hong felt nothing special when he put it on, no different from a normal bracelet. Lin Chuyin told them that this was a stereo projector. Just flip the switch to scan and then present yourself as scanned. Lin Chuyin told Hong Dali how to use it. After flipping the switch, a burst of light instantly emanated from the bracelet. The light swept over Tang Muxing's body. They don't know the seriousness of the matter yet, and Lin watches them in a state of drama. The top of the bracelet beeped, which meant the scan was complete. Hong Dali continued to feel out how the bracelet was used. Tang Muxin also understood the general meaning, that is, you can project a thing. Lam Chorin told her boss where to hold it down to continue using it. At this point in time, Hong Dali roamed around not knowing what was going to happen next. The bracelet glows brightly again when the switch is pressed. Suddenly 2 strange circles of light appeared from the bracelet. It's like magic where the aperture passes through. It changes into something completely different. First the upper body, then the lower. It seems that this bracelet is able to change a person's appearance straight away. Tang Muxin on the side looked directly dumbfounded, for wasn't this herself? Hong Li looked at his arse and felt especially incredible. It was only then that he realized that his whole body had changed. Hong Li has turned into Tang Muxin. What's going on? It's really a function of what the bracelet scans and what it turns into itself. Looking at my slender figure, I blurted out, I see. Tang Muxin looked at Hong Dali, who was studying his body in front of her, and hurriedly stopped it. If you don't stop it, you'll get a good look at it yourself. Tang Muxin came up and covered Hong Dali's mouth and nose to prevent him from speaking. Looking at this naive expression in front of me, I feel like I've been spoiled for choice. Hong Li was still feeling the feeling of being a girl at the moment. Tang Muxin looked at the perverted man in front of her and wanted to go up and beat him up. In the next second, Hong Li was ready to take off his trousers straight away. Tang Muxin is not a vegetarian and comes up with a punch that knocks her opponent down. The screams drifted back and forth throughout the company, a group of students happily crossing the street. The teacher leads the procession at the front, and the students obediently follow at the back. The teacher walks around and tells the children to be careful when crossing the road. Just when they were in the middle of the pack, but just then, a vehicle suddenly went out of control. It was a lorry driver, and the vehicle went forward rapidly due to a brake failure. No matter how hard the brakes are pressed, there's no response at all. At this point, the pupils and teachers in the distance hadn't realized anything was wrong. I didn't realize it was out of control until the car was almost in front of me. The driver was sweating nervously at the scene in front of him. Was he going to crash? The small car in front of us was knocked straight to one side by the impact of the big car. It's too late for students and teachers to run. Just at this tense moment, a figure in the distance suddenly disappeared. Then there was a thud as an arm seemed to shatter something. The beautiful teacher was incredulous to see this scene in front of her. It's a beautiful woman blocking the car with her body directly in front of it. The vehicle seems to have been forced to a stop by the girl's torso, but due to inertia, the driver crashed straight out of the car. This beautiful woman then caught the driver with an upward drag of her hand. The driver never thought he'd land in such a way. The students and teachers looked at what was happening in front of them in disbelief, because this beautiful woman doesn't look that strong, yet she can do it. Even the crowd around us saw it and said it was unbelievable, because the woman deflected an out-of-control car with only her body. Then the beautiful woman casually dropped the driver on the ground, and then in a few breaths, the beauty had disappeared. This is in a room inside the Great God's Pavilion. A figure suddenly skimmed into the room. This is the heroic beauty who just saved a man's life on the road. He realized that his arm seemed to be broken as a result of the accident. She was holding her arm with one hand, and her arm was actually smoking. I never thought that the arm would be removed with a click. At that moment, an old man from behind slowly walked towards the beautiful woman. He told Beauty about this mission, to go to the Tang Hall and destroy the Tianyuan herb. The beauty was curious as to why she didn't just take it back instead of destroying the old man is actually very smart. There's only one of this thing in the world and it's useless if we want to put down the Tang Hall completely, Tianyuan grass is the key. Without Tianyuan herb, Tang Hall will go bankrupt in no time. The only way to get the best of both worlds was to destroy the Tianyuan grass. The beauty was also curious about how this auction had been lost. The old man looked sad when he thought of it, and told the beautiful woman what he had heard. The beauty listened and was ready to start fixing her arm. After the repairs, we're going to sneak into Tang's house and destroy the stuff. In Master Hun's villa, Han Bao brought the sword bought for 100 million yuan back to the house. The mother has been praying again since she saw it, because the weapon is very hostile. My mother saw this because she believes in Buddhism, so she thought it was a bloodbath. Finally, when he heard about his son's disgrace disgrace at the auction, he was even more furious. Hong Bao has been telling his mother that these are all coincidences. Mother again discouraged. Don't hit on your cousin in the future either. He then asked his son to dispose of the sword and keep it out of his sight. Hong Bao walked out of the house with an atmosphere. If it wasn't for Hong Dali, he wouldn't have. Then, in order to take revenge on Hong Dali, Hong Bao directly called the phone number. He's going to get a killer to use this sword to cut the other guy's legs off. Inside a martial arts school in the city, a master is demonstrating a skill he has been practicing for decades. He brewed for a moment, then took a deep breath, placing his hand on his target's chest. He prepares to perform a jutsu. After the last build-up, the master opened his eyes violently and with all his strength. In the next second, all these people flew in the sky. This is a master who has been practicing his skills for decades and can be considered a true master. It takes only one move to send several people flying at the same time, and very few people are able. After performing his jutsu, the Grandmaster began to slowly regain his strength. Looking at the satisfying scene before him, the master smiled knowingly. It was the applause of a man who came to mind next to him, the director who disappeared all the time. Master Lei clasped his fists in greeting. The director looks at Master Lei and thinks that this time revenge should be realized. Master Lei swore to the director that it would be easy to beat up a small child. When the director asked when Master Lei was ready to start his revenge, Master Lei turned his head and walked away, saying that his hemorrhoids have been acting up for the. This left the director unable to say a word and could only look at his departing back. The city was quiet late at night, and the owl craned his head to look round. He didn't look around like he was looking for prey, risking his life to guard his home again. Owl's eyesight can be powerful on the internet, but this owl has been circling around the Don's family to pick and choose. He stares at every move of the entire Tang family with his supervision. This is actually an owl controlled by Hong Li. In the past few days, in order to guard that immortal herb, he himself had been staring around the tea. There's only a few dozen security guards in the whole building. At this time Hong Dali reflected that he could be a great young master, and now he was able to be in. After a hard day's work, Hong Dali poured a cup of water and prepared to take a good rest. I didn't expect that just then. Someone outside the door called out to me. If I'm not wrong, it's Tang Machine who opened the door. Tang Machine came here to thank Hong Dali. Hong Li looked at the mysterious box in Tang Machine's hand, which looked like food. This is the sumptuous dinner Tang Machine personally cooked for Hong Dali. Hong Li was very touched because there really weren't many people who cared about him. However, at the moment of opening, Hong Dali's eyes almost did not stir off the ground. Isn't this the legendary dark cuisine? Tang Machine explains that this is the pastry she worked so hard on. Looking at the unforgiving blackened cuisine in front of him, Hong Dali was frightened and sweating. Tang Machine looked at Hong Dali pitifully. Are you disliking what I made? Hearing this, Hong Dali picked up one and filled his mouth without saying a word. Looking at Hong Dali's eating, Tang Machine was also stunned. But after when Hong Dali ate a few mouthfuls, the flavor that went straight to the sky was very moo. In fact, this was all Tang Machine teasing him. Reaching out and handing out a candy, Hong Dali covered his mouth with his hand and said, "How can a sugar go to the innermost bitter? In fact, there is one thing that can go to the bitter end. You bring it here for me." Just as Tang Machine was wondering what to take, Hong Li took the opportunity to quickly grab Tang Machine's arm and pull it hard. Hong vigorously kissed Tang Machine's mouth. It was also at this instant that Tang Machine almost didn't pass out from what she had made. Inside the Don's company, there was a scream of agony. Late night at the Tang residence, security is patrolling every corner. Suddenly one of the players got a stomach ache. The captain reprimanded this team member. "Why are you so full of shit again?" The player complained that he had eaten something bad. In fact, this team member is just looking for an excuse to take a break. In the toilets, the team picked up their mobile phones and messaged a couple of little girls. This employer's been up to something mysterious all day. There's also talk of a hitman coming along, who not only pays well but can be lazy. Before he could finish his sentence, he suddenly felt a blackout and fainted. This is the assassin sent by Hong Bao to cut off Hong's legs. This killer does look like he has some tricks up up his sleeve. The team is now down to 3, and the 2 in the back are trying to be lazy. They started pleading with the captain for a place to have a smoke. The captain promises to find a place to smoke where the surveillance can't see it. A puff of cigarette smoke rose from the grass as they chatted idly. I heard they're making some new potion, and it seems to be particularly mysterious. And the captain knows that some people never come out of the house since they go in. It's probably a well-kept secret, just pay us to work, one of them said. Not to mention the killer, Godzilla showed up. A few of us could make him a barbecue, but the next second, the 3 security guards were directly put on their heads by a black cloth. It's another batch of killers. As you can imagine, not long after, a man dressed as a security guard stepped out from within the bushes. These 3 are Master Lei. They're all here to help Director Ding get his revenge. Ray didn't want to come at all. He wouldn't have come if it wasn't for his face. They began to implement the plan they had prepared in advance. Firstly, he got in front of Hong Dali, beat him half to death and then left at once. It was a patrol that suddenly appeared in front of them, reprimanding them for hurrying up. The 3 of them were so shocked by the scene that they almost wore it out. The 3 men wandered around, looking for an entrance that would allow them to enter the residence. At the same time, on a corner of the top of the house, a figure suddenly appeared on the roof of the house. It's the redhead again. Looks like her arm has been repaired. Just in case, she was going to set up stealth before entering with some manipulation, the redhead turned on the high-tech stealth effect. This is a technique that cannot be deciphered by modern man at this point. The woman is transparent. She landed softly on the ground, ready to dive into the so-called secret place. Looking at the several security guards coming towards her, the woman became more cautious. After testing that no one else can see you, the next step is to dive in boldly. Looking at the group of blind-like security guards behind her, the woman smiled contemptuously. Meanwhile, the killer in the toilet has changed into a security guard's clothes. The Tang family is not easy now. 3 waves of killers are out at the same time. I don't know if Hong Li will be able to avoid this today. Changing his clothes, the Slayer grabbed his shield and was ready to start moving. He was also glad that the Tang family security was real easy. It was simple to get in, but not for long. As soon as we left the house, we were confronted by a team of security guards. Coincidentally, the men encountered were also assassins on a mission. They thought each other were real security guards and were instantly alerted. They just stood there facing each other, neither of them wanting to be the first to speak up, because they are afraid that their identity will be exposed. Otherwise it will affect today's plan. The lone killer was mentally tense at this point. His luck was just too far gone. The best thing they can do now is to think of themselves as normal security guards. But everyone has a ghost in their psyche, and their only option is to fight. Master Lei looked at his opponent. He should be easy to deal with on his own. Killer may be good, but if he fights 3 people he'll alert more people. Just then, a patrol came by to tell them what they were doing here. That's because they also know that they have their own secrets from each other. It's hard to believe that the 4 of them made a team like that. It was also at this time that the redhead appeared inside the house, but she could walk right in, because no one could see her. She looked at the group of security guards walking back and forth, but that's when he realized that a bat had been following her overhead, spinning back and forth overhead. The redhead noticed something odd about the bat, so she quietly used her skills, a move that locks onto the bat. Finally the bat plopped down in the corner of a room, wondering what had just happened. In fact, this bat is manipulated by Hong Li. He already knew that the invisible man they spoke of had appeared. Someone's in here. Are you ready with the anti-stealth devices? Hong Dali confidently asked Lin Chuyin. It's still about 10 minutes away, but by then people will be in the lab. This is Hong Dali put the water cup on the table, ready to a person's stomach to correspond with. He glanced at his fiancée, who was sleeping next to him. It's so beautiful you don't want to leave. Hong Li sighed. No way anymore. He had to set off on his own. At this moment, all 3 groups of murderers have infiltrated the heart of the Tang family. They feel like they're getting close to the end of the mission. They quietly slipped back and forth near the room where Hong Dali lived, looking for opportunities. But we need to get rid of the guy in the back before we do that. They start whispering to each other, ready to be put together in 3 seconds to their opponents. In an instant, the 3 of them attack attacked each other at the same time. They're ready to finish each other off in one move without leaving any loose ends. The last assassin thought his disguise had been discovered. He dropped his club with one hand and was ready to fight back. Then the hidden sword was instantly pulled out from within the shield. In a split second, several people were knocked over by each other at the same time, worthy of the masters hired. They put them both down in just one round. Now there are only 2 masters left. Looking at his disciple lying on the ground, Master Lei was furious. I want to fight with the other side to the death. Master Lei's skills are not for the faint of heart. The shield thrown over was instantly cleaved by a sword from the man in front of him. Without his weapon, Master Lei uses his surefire technique, directly slammed his palm on his opponent's shield. Master Hong's slap wasn't simple. The opponent was directly hit, and then he slapped his opponent again. 2 players, one armed, one unarmed. Of course, it's Master Lei who's injured. Even if you practice a lot of martial arts, you can't stand up to a weapon, but neither side is afraid of the other. Master Lei's arm was stabbed with a sword. A professional killer is really professional, but he was also hit by Master Lei. 2 men confronted each other, both thinking the other was a hired security guard. Just then, Hong Dali slowly and leisurely walked out from the room. This was the target of 2 people at the same time. Hong Li, killer, doesn't continue to stall with the others at this time, and then spits out a pill. This pill is not a normal pill. As long as it is under pressure and touches the ground, it'll create a lot of white smoke. Just in time to get out of here, Master Lei looked at the scene that was happening in front of him. Could this be a call for help? Togo, looking at his injured disciples, he wanted to finish the mission before saving them. Coincidentally, that's when the redhead came to the place too. However, his trail was invisible, so no one else could see it except Hong Dali. Just walked in here and saw a man sitting on the floor as if he was asleep. After observing the beauty for a while and finding no problem, she ignored it and prepared to continue. Looking at the man, she also wondered why he was sitting here in the middle of the night. Forget it, he can't see me anyway. However, just after taking 2 steps, Hong Dali opened his mouth. "Miss, please stay." This statement directly startled the invisible woman. Who was he talking to? Can this man see himself? Hong Dali then said, "There is no third person here, right?" The redhead was wondering how you saw me without opening your eyes. Hong vigorously continued, "Who said only eyes can see? Did you? You're supposed to change the refraction of light to make it invisible to the naked eye. Too bad you didn't escape my ultrasonic detection." The opponent wanted to come up and attack himself. Hong immediately became alert. He first used his sonic to detect his opponent's position, and then prepared to fight with him. The beauty's attack was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye it was about to attack Hong. Hong Li dodged 3 meters away. The redhead asked. Hong Dali saw that someone asked him that he had to introduce himself properly. "My name is Hong Dali, the one with great strength." The self-righteous Hong Li doesn't know what he's going to face next. Redheads are not to be trifled with. She's got a lot of technology to deal with, especially in a stealthy state. It's even more difficult to deal with. Hong senses through sonic that the opposite side is kicking at him, and he blocks it in his own way. However, this time could make Hong Li suffer a lot, because the other party was covered in armor. While taking advantage of Hong Li's inattention, the redhead once again stepped forward with a foot. It straightened up and mentioned Hong Dali 10 meters away. This is a problem, because Hong Li was in pain and had lost his mental link with the animal. The beauty extended a concealed weapon from her robotic arm, ready to tackle Hong. This is no different from being blind. Is he really going to fall? The redhead poured all of her anger into the blow, ready to kill with one blow. Just at that moment the master appeared and saw that it was a good opportunity. Master Lei brews for a moment and prepares to use a unique technique. "I'm going to kill him with a single slap after pouring my whole body into him." But the next second, I don't know what happened. Master Lei was blocked by the air. It seems to be mounted to a person, but you can't see any of it. Both flew in 2 directions, but the redhead landed in the exact same direction as the killer. The assassin at this time also found Hong Li and was ready to cut off his legs. Killer also starts to build up his strength for a slash and burn. In an instant, the force was poured into the hilt of the blade, rushing towards Hong, but only bam! Hong Dali looked at the scene in front of him with a confused face. What the hell is going on? What's with the 2 injured guards? And they were all knocked out. What the hell is going on here? It was also at this time that Lin Chuyin had already finished making the equipment. He quickly ran towards the middle of the yard, trying to place himself in the expected position. Come to the center and put it on the ground. And just for a moment, the light shines through. This is the power of high technology. The redhead who had been fighting in the house was suddenly visible. The assassin on the side covered his mouth in disbelief when he saw the scene. What's with the big change? What the hell is going on here? Killer stared in disbelief at what was happening in front of him. Hong Li looked at the woman who appeared and praised. Good high technology. The first thing the redhead did when she showed up was to take out the security guard first. The two killers froze when they heard it, thinking, I'm not a security guard. One of them tried to run, only to be grabbed by Hong Li and thrown to help. The two assassins fought hard against the red-haired beauty. Hong waved his fist and shouted, whoever catches her will be rewarded $50 million. But how do two humans compare to using a machine? The redhead handled it with ease. The two assassins were easily knocked out by one blow from their opponent. One of the assassins cried out in pain. But what was the point? The other assassin also had a constipated look of pain. Was he going to die here today? Before he could prepare himself to defend himself, a fist hammered hard into Master Lei's chin, then slammed into the glass, which thankfully was not strong enough to be knocked straight out. But the other assassin wasn't so lucky, and was deadlocked by the redhead's neck. The beautiful woman's arms were mechanically crafted and lifted the killer with ease. At that very moment, one of the killer's hands reached for the dagger in his back. Then he quickly plunged the dagger into the beautiful woman's arm. As expected, the beautiful girl's arm was directly pierced through by this five-star killer. It wasn't over yet, and in a brief moment, the five-star assassin spun the dagger again. This caused the redhead to receive a heavy blow and look angrily at the assassin in front of her. The next second, the killer was thrown against the wall behind the redhead with great force. Hong Dali, who was watching the battle from the side, also winced when he saw this scene. Just at this time, Master Lei in the back slowly stood up and looked at the redhead. He was enraged and decided to teach the woman in front of him a good lesson. Master Lei's hands suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. This was his best move, with more and more energy gathered in her hands. This time the redhead might be in a bad way. In the next second, Master Lei used his full power to send out this masterstroke. Coincidentally, the blow hit the redhead right in the back, and the sneak attack was successful. Just then, the redhead's arm snapped as well. The blow directly angered the redhead, who turned around and prepared to teach him a good lesson. Then from the other arm extended a mechanical device, a missile. This scene directly stared at Master Lei. Could this also be? Beauty reaches out and aims at her opponent's killer, ready to fire her missiles. The missile hit Master Lei directly. I'm afraid it's a fatal accident. Hong on the side was directly shocked to see that the beauty was so powerful. Outside the company building, an explosion caught the attention of a patrol. When the smoke gradually dispersed, Hong Dali slowly stood up from the smoke and dust. But the three of them have disappeared. They should have just run away. Hong Dali didn't know the real identity of the three until now, and looked ahead in doubt. However, an object below caught Hong Dali's attention. It's a broken arm, the redhead's mechanical arm. Tang and Lin rushed over urgently from the rear, fearing that Hong Dali would be threatened. The two of them worriedly looked at Hong Dali's back, consoling whether there is something. Hong Li picked up the mechanical woman's arm and replied, I'm fine, but I found a good thing. Hong Li arranged for Lin Chuyin to have this arm analyzed carefully to see how it was made when. In the meantime, I told them about a three-way fight that had just taken place around them. Lin Chuyin also informed her boss that two people had attacked the security guards to blend in. In this way Hong was in doubt. These two seemed to be assassinating themselves. Who could it be? A figure stumbled along the street late at night on a side street. Master Lei angrily recalled what had just happened, and was lucky he had stayed alive. At that moment a voice came from the front. Someone was shouting Master Lei's name. Looking at the master, who was covered in bruises, he asked if the operation had been a success. The master humbly told the director that he couldn't do it himself, so he should find someone else. This comment directly angered the director, angrily accusing Master Lei of being ungrateful. But what I didn't realize was the slap in the face that came with those those words, the Grandmaster couldn't hold back his anger any longer and slapped the director out of the room. I guess at this moment, Director Ding was very aggrieved, because he didn't expect such a result. Immediately after, the master yells at the director and almost dies there for doing you a favor. By this time the director was out of breath and sat on the floor covering his face. But on the other side, a killer is on the phone with Hung. That's the 5-star killer on the ground, obviously trying to destroy the body. With a thud, the mobile phone was thrown heavily to the ground. Hong and Bao held the red wine glass tightly in his hand and gritted his teeth in anger. On the other side, Hong Dali was also affected in this action and had some wounds on his body. Tang Moxing was carefully rubbing Hong Dali with her family's secret medicine. Then he took out a newly developed drug and was going to test how effective it was. Tang Moxing shook vigorously, afraid that this time the medicine would not have any effect. As it was sprayed onto Hong Dali's body, an aroma came to his nose. Hong Dali's recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Rubbing the shoulder with the wound, Hong Li sighed at the effect of the legendary Tian Yuan grass. Tang Moxing nodded her head and said, "Yes, you're lucky. You've helped our Tang family through a crisis. My dad has decided to make you a shareholder." Hong Dali faced proud look as considered to acquiesce down said, "Don't forget your promise." Oh. Tang Moxing looked doubtful. "How come I don't remember any commitment?" Hong vigorously lifted Tang Moxing's chin playfully with his finger. With a serious face, "You said you'd marry me when we got through this," said Tang Moxing with a pouty face. He pushed Hong Li away and said, "I forgot." Looking at Tang Moxing, Hong Dali, who went out with an expression of determination, Hong Dali snorted coldly and said something like going back on his word. Lin Shuyin came in at this time and called out to the boss, "This is what I found from the scene. I think it was brought in by the people who got mixed up." Hong Dali looked at the sword in his hand. There is always a sense of deja vu. He drew his sword with a sound of miso. "How did the sword that Hong and Bao shot away appear here?" Lin Shuyin said a security guard was knocked out in the toilet and his clothes were switched. Hong wondered what someone pretending to be a security guard and carrying a sword was used for. Hong Li closed the scabbard with a cold snort. Lin Shuyin said, "But now the killer has disappeared. All the evidence has died without proof." "Don't worry, I don't need evidence, just test him a little." Hong seems to have guessed the mastermind. Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. "Ling Shuyi, get me some men and a couple of cars. We're going to blow up the street." A few moments later, in front of a luxurious villa, Hong and Bao was sleeping soundly in his pajamas, snoring with a blindfold and an uncontrollable drool in his mouth. The sound of a motorbike rumbling and blowing up the street was suddenly heard outside the door. Hong and Bao woke up with a start and shouted, "Crap!" Hong and Bao, in horror, flipped open his blindfold, standing up and cursing under his breath. He walked towards the window. Hong and Bao is angry and opens the curtains to find out who has the guts to disturb my dream. With that, he headed for the window, ready to scold the unintelligent people outside the door. Looking out of the window, 4 motorbikes, 2 in the back around a luxury car looking at Hong Anbao. Hong Dali sat in the luxury car, smiling at all this in front of him. Hong Anbao saw the car people, furious on the road. "So it is you, boy." Hong Dali continued to sit calmly in the car, a picture of the next music and then dance look. Hong and Bao exploded in anger, and all the muscles on his face began to deform because of his anger. Hong and Bao walks to the door in anger. When he saw Hong Dali, he started cursing, looking like he was ready to beat him up. This is the security guard who was called over by Hong Dali, ready to show Hong and Bao one thing, a mysterious-looking thing, which made Hong and Bao come to be interested in. Hong Dali looked straight at Hong and Bao and teased him with mocking words. This made the directly enraged Hong and Bao angry and already speechless. Hong Li's car directly accelerated away from here, leaving only a puff of exhaust fumes. Holding a sword in his hand, Hong Li sat in the car and left. In the early hours of the next morning, the weather was unusually clear. Master Hong Wu was deep in thought with his pipe in his mouth. He was very surprised by the news that Hong Li had brought because the heir apparent, Hong Dali, was describing what Hong and Bao had said before. Master Hong 5 doesn't believe it's true because the heir apparent was voted on publicly. This also makes Hong Li very puzzled. So why exactly is this rumored to be an inside job? Master Hong had to explain because the rest of the brothers were not here, only the 2 of them. Plus, many people believe that Hong's body is weak and has no potential to succeed the next patriarch. Hong Li finally realized that it was because of himself that he was spurned by everyone. The fifth master was helpless, and now the clan attached importance to the old fourth's lineage. There are a lot of people who are on the side of the fourth master, with the current internalized. Hong Dali was also curious about what would happen if Hong Sifu really became the clan leader. You don't want to feel like you're begging on the street. Do you? That's not so bad, but in the future, Master Hong will lose his voice in the family. Hong heard this because there was no way he was going to let something like this happen. Inside a large villa of the Hong family, a luxury car drove into the place. Today is the day of the patriarch's meeting, and it's destined to be a lively day. A cool sports car pulled up on the side of the road, presumably thinking it was someone remarkable. A woman in high heels gets out of a car. I can tell by the figure that this is a great beauty. Who is he? As expected, this is the cousin that Hong and Bao longs for. At that moment, the lobbyist saw it and wanted to say hello, and Yushi responded happily. Those who can come here today are all related by blood and they greet each other, but Rainzy was embarrassed at this point, as she could no longer remember her relatives. This is where the crowd stirred and a few heavyweights came from the back of the room. This is Master Hong Si, who led his line of relatives here. The first cousin saw the scene and rushed his children forward to say hello. Yu Shi, who was on the side, also greeted warmly. She lamented that it was fortunate that Uncle Four had come or she would still be embarrassed. By this time it was already evident that many people still looked favorably on Master Hong Sik Yuan. Everyone was fawningly complimenting Master Hong Wu, hoping to help their own lineage more in the Fu. Some people even said in the crowd, "We're going to have a wedding drink." By this time, Hong and Bao was already floating with joy at the scene in front of him. Just then, a luxury car pulled into the park. A white-haired man came out from inside, and if I'm not mistaken it should be Master Hong. Yu Shi, who was on the sidelines, panicked when she saw it and greeted her, as this was her fifth UNC. Hong Fifth responded happily when he saw it. They looked like they should be very close. However, Yu Shi was in doubt. Why didn't Hong Dali come with you? Accompanied by a burst of coughing, Hong Dali appeared in response to the situation. He carefully got out of the car, and it looked like he was going to make something happen this time. Hong Dali held a tissue in his hand and coughed incessantly. Tang Mushin on the side tenderly assisted Hong Dali's body. "Didn't your leg get better? Why are you on crutches again?" Seeing how sweet the two are, Yushi came up to wish them a long life. The relative in the back who had just been fawning next to Master Hong Si casually greeted Master Ho. When Master Hong Wu heard that, he just smiled slightly. "You young people should sit together." The woman on the sidelines was instantly drawn to one thing. The necklace around Tang Moshin's neck worth $100 million attracted a lot of onlookers. But there's no time without Hong and Bao's mockery, coming up with a sarcastic comment about Hong's W. I can see that Hong and Bao's resentment towards Hong Dali is not ordinary. But Hong Dali had his purpose for doing so. It was a plan he had already made in advance. Because of his previous illness, many people are now sarcastic instead of sympathizing with him. Especially Hong and Bao, who has always been on the opposite side of the fence from him, has seized Oh. Then he looked at his cousin Yushi, who was ready to let her go with him. It's obvious to see that Hong and Bao likes his own cousin Yushi. At this moment, Tang Moshin came out to round up the situation, not letting Yushi fall into an awkward. Claims the two were happy to meet for the first time and wanted to get together for a chat. Hong and Bao actually shouted at Yushi this time because he wanted Yushi to be on his side. But Yushi will not think so much. She thinks very simple. Do not know what to do to be good. Seeing this scene, Tang Moshin directly couldn't help herself and came up to rebuke Hong and Bao. "We haven't even started the election yet, and now you're being so patronizing." But Hong and Bao is not the kind of person to be messed with. Not only did he not get angry, but he fl. Hong Dali on the side did not do anything when he heard this, and continued coughing. Hong and Bao saw that he couldn't persuade Yushi, so he twisted and left the place, and dropped a line. "I hope I don't come crying and begging to me in the future." Looking at such an arrogant villain, the two of them were infuriated. This is where even Yushi began to doubt. Could it be that cousin Vigor was really soft and weak fizz? On the contrary, on Hong and Bao's side, the cousins on the side have flattered and flattered. Just then, I don't know who made a call to Hong Dali. It's the secretary calling herself. The plan is going to start soon. At that moment a strong noise came from the sky. The the sound of a helicopter. What kind of big shot is this? Even the way he appears is different. The dust on the ground is being stirred up by the helicopters. Every single person down there had not only their hair, but even their clothes blown into disarray. Hong and Bao was also shocked to see such a pushy character and stayed frozen on the spot. Is this the founder of the family? A figure who appears only once a year. As the helicopter slowly landed and came to a steady stop on the grass, the people on the plane also came into view. The man had a long beard and didn't look like he should be much older. This is the founder of the huge Hong family business, Hong Wan-san. Seeing all his descendants in front of him, Hong Wan-san happily greeted everyone. However, at this time, Hong Li said, "Who is this person? The aura is so powerful." Cousin Yushi's embarrassed reply to her cousin, "You can't be in your right mind." Hong Wan-san looks younger in age than his own son. Not bad for a rich man.